started my day like every stereotypical vegan vlogger by having a giant green smoothie with 2 frozen bananas, frozen mango, 2 clementines, and a big handful of kale. I reuse these frozen fruit bags for freezing bananas, kale, or whatever fruit I can't eat in time to minimize plastic waste as well as food waste. Next, I added 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, which I store in the fridge to maintain freshness. Then I fill up my Vitamix about halfway with filtered water. The amount of water is something you'll just have to experiment with. It depends on how thick or thin you prefer your smoothies. I love starting my day off with a smoothie because I can't work out on an empty or full stomach, and a smoothie is just enough to quell my hunger but not enough to weigh me down. I usually drink about half and then sip on the rest throughout my yoga practice. It is a rule that you must drink your smoothies out of a mason jar with a steel straw. If you don't, can you even call yourself a vegan? My apartment complex here in Denver doesn't have freaking recycling or compost bins, so I have to haul it all to my boyfriend's place in Boulder every weekend. Most of the time he takes it for me, so thank you, Ethan. After yoga, I'm having a little snack so I can go for a run. I cut up an apple. I usually have it with peanut butter, but I thought I'd mix it up with some sun butter this week. It was definitely a good decision. In typical YouTube junkie fashion, I'm watching a video while I eat. If you haven't heard of Vegan Earth and Soul, you should definitely check out her channel.
I want to talk about relatable self-deprivation, which is extremely trendy. Memes, okay? So many of them are just so self-deprecating, so relatable. When you scroll through your timeline liking memes about depression, anxiety, and alcoholism, humor based on my pain, haha. Who needs April Fools when your whole life is a joke? If you can't handle me at my worst, then leave, because I don't have a best. I'm always awful. I get that humor can be a way of dealing with hard things in our lives, but when we take it to extremes, it's like almost trendy to be depressed or have anxiety these days, or to just say kill me in every situation.
Finley! Oh, sit! Finley, sit! What are you doing? Gentle. Good boy. Good boy. Down. Down. Finley, that was not right.
It is now time for lunch, and I'm chopping up some mushrooms for a tofu scramble. I pre-chopped my other veggies and would highly recommend doing this. You are so much more likely to actually eat all of the produce you buy if you pre-wash and chop and store in Tupperware. You can modify this recipe by adding whatever veggies you like. I'm sauteing some onion, red bell pepper, and mushrooms with a little bit of olive oil. Normally I would add some chopped spinach, but didn't have any, unfortunately. Today I'm adding some smoky tempeh bacon. In the past, I've made it with tofurkey kielbasa sausages, and it was absolutely delicious. These are totally optional suggestions. You can customize your tofu scramble however you'd like. Just maybe don't add dead animals. Next step, press out your tofu. I've never owned a tofu press. This method seems to work just fine. You can also take a towel and squeeze out as much water as you can. Here I'm just transferring half of my sauteed veggies into some Tupperware, making my life super easy for tomorrow. After you squeeze out all the water, break up the tofu with your hands directly into the pan. If I were cooking for just myself, I'd probably use half a block of tofu, but here I'm using an entire block. Turmeric is what gives it that yellow color and makes it look like scrambled eggs. Then you can spice it up with some garlic powder, salt, pepper, paprika, and a pretty generous amount of nutritional yeast to give it a nice cheesy flavor. I like to drizzle a little bit of olive oil, stir it up, and then let it pan fry for a few minutes until the tofu is a nice golden brown. I let it cook for a few more minutes and go make toast. This is my absolute favorite brand of bread. Gotta get in those whole grains and omega-3s. I try to reuse this bag for bringing sandwiches to work, storing banana bread. There's really no reason to buy plastic wrap or sandwich bags, freezer bags, when so much of our food comes wrapped in plastic. It's hard to avoid, so we should be reusing packaging like this as much as we can. And here is the final product. So yummy and comforting. Now it's time for dinner. Ethan is adding about 3 cloves of chopped garlic to my pre-chopped onion and bell pepper. If you haven't already guessed, we are making chili. I loosely followed the recipe from the Minimalist Baker, but apparently I fucked up. I was a little hungry, so I just threw everything together at once. Ideally, you want to saute the veggies and then let the spices simmer with the tomato juices before adding your beans, corn, etc. While the chili simmers, it is time to make cornbread. I used to love Jiffy cornbread mix as a kid, but the original mix has lard in it. Fortunately, I found a vegetarian version, but unfortunately it has palm oil in it, and unlike the Earth Balance, it is not sourced sustainably, so I won't be buying this very often. The recipe called for 2 eggs, so instead I am using 6 tablespoons of bean juice from the can of pinto beans. The fancy word for this is aquafaba, and it is a total game changer for baking. Lastly, I'm adding Good Karma flax milk, the unsweetened version, my personal favorite non-dairy milk. Finally, for dessert, we had some so delicious caramel apple crumble ice cream. If you think that by going vegan you'd have to give up your favorite comfort foods, you are sorely mistaken. There are so many flavors and varieties. Good vegan ice cream could fool anyone in a blind taste test.
Hi. You're so cute. Can you make noise? Can you meow for the camera, Ivy? Oh, there we go. What's over there?
Yo, how when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me no eat no fish, nah, no meat now. How when me eat them, I wonder when me yam. When me tell them say that I'm a vegan, man. How when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me no eat no fish, nah, no meat now.